Hello and welcome to the second part in our login to activity to change activity section and transition between activities. In this part, I will show you how to manipulate the new activity. Just to close up the previous section in which I had a small error. You can see that password in my case before I just didn't notice was like empty. Okay, it was my error. In your case, if it was okay, this section, it should have worked. Okay, because it was an empty value, it threw me an error here. But now if I execute the same lines, you will see that it changes between activity according to what was the original idea. Okay, so the fact is that once I press login and everything goes well, it takes me to the scoring activity, which, as I mentioned before, we've seen before, in my case, maybe in your case it works well, it doesn't really show me the previous, now there, finally it's showing the previous, nice. Okay, I don't know why it didn't show me before, but now it's showing, so this is also a good news. And as I mentioned before, the content contains this section here, the string down here represents this down section here, this bottom section, sorry, while the activity core itself, all this represents everything from upwards downwards. Okay, so that's the difference. They let you have this XML independent, so you can modify it as you wish without affecting the, let's say, the more complex full screen design. Okay, this is included here. So it's really down here. And if you want to modify its behavior, you have to modify it here, not in here. In here, you can just only, in here, sorry. In here, you can only modify the text on the content it has inside. Okay, that's a simple designing hierarchy thing. The fab, as I mentioned before, represents the button here. So if I press the button, it will show me this replace with your own action. Okay, as I mentioned before, we go to the text, that's what it shows, the praise with your own action. The snack bar, it's the bar that you've just seen down here, and it only shows itself for a couple of seconds, and it disappears. Okay, and that's what we right now have. Now the title will be able to change it, and so on, but this is the first version of what we want to do. Before we get into developing or working on our core activity here, I just want to do a small add-on to the main activity. Right now, as it is, each time I want to enter my app, I have to log in, and it can be a bit tiresome, especially to the user, which it's going to ask himself, why I have to insert or add my user and password each time I want to enter my app. So Firebase by itself, each time a user logs in, stores the session, what we call the session, for a period of time, so it doesn't really have to insert its login each time. Okay, the object auth doesn't only manages the call to sign in with email and password and create user. It also allows us to check more stuff. For example, if just as at the end of the creation of the view, just at the end, we execute something like this, and we try to get the current user is the user that is currently logged in, we can always ask if the user exists, which means that it doesn't equal to null. It means that there is a current user already logged in, so we don't really have to ask the user again for him to log in. Okay, it's very important to understand this. The current user parameter, which is a parameter, it's an object. Okay, if we go to, I'm going to check it here in the original code. Well, it's a bit complicated to understand, so let's not get into it. But the idea is that this returns to us an object of type user, the one that we also have here, you can see. So if before we finish creating the view, the activity, we ask if there is a current user, we can always tell him to immediately change to the main activity. So we jump, okay? We don't have to ask for login again, okay? If we do this, what it does is that it eventually ends, it finished creating the view, but it immediately takes me into the app. Okay, if you want, we can try to execute it again. And you can see, it will immediately takes me into the app because the user is already logged in. Okay, if I want, for example, and you will ask yourselves, okay, but what happens if I don't want the user, or I want to take the user out from the log session? I want to finish this session. So the best thing to do is to add a button inside your application that allows him to log out. Okay, the log out function is called auth dot. I think it is not log out. It's, we can check. We can look for sign out. Okay, if you execute this line before you do this, then this thing will turn this into null, and this won't work. Okay, we can even try it. If you do this, now it will ask me for login for sure, because this is the current user is null. You can see. And if I take this out, now I log in. And now I go out again. Let's say I go out of the app. I close it. There's a lot of apps working here. I go, and then I execute the app. I have to execute it again because I just commented this and I didn't really execute it. So it will automatically take me in. This line here, you will have to add it in a button when you want the user to be able to log out from his user. Okay. For now, we're not going to put it anywhere, but you can have it wherever you want in your app where you want to log out. Okay, great. In the core scoring activity, we will work mostly to change and put the things and elements we want. Now, here, I want you to stop with me here in the values. File, under the values, sorry, not values, the strings, which is here, sorry. Forget the generate res. Remember res, we go into values, we go into strings. Okay. The strings XML represents static text data that we want to show to the user. Okay. First data, what has its like a variable name and a value, it's app name. App name equals my class. Title activities core scrolling equals core scrolling activity. Large text equals everything we see here. What are we really doing here? We are defining, not like we do in Kotlin, that we define a variable, var, tag of type strings equals main activity. In strings, we're doing string with the name of the variable app name equals that. That's a bit different because we're using XML syntax. And that affects a bit the way we program in XML. Okay? Why I'm showing this? Because the XMLs, for example, the activity core scrolling, as you can see, when we point on the toolbar, sorry, where is the attributes? You will see that the text somewhere, if we can find it. Sorry, I think it was a toolbar. Should be a text somewhere. Okay, let's look here, text. As you can see, subtitle text appearance there. As you can see, sorry. That's the style. No, that's a style. Sorry. Maybe here. Maybe here. Oh, somewhere it should be. Okay, I'm trying to look for the place where you're using where we're using the text. So I just wanted to show where we use these variables. In the content core scrolling here, you can see there is a text view, and the text view points to this. The text itself is not really written here, but it points to a variable called large text that belongs to the string file here. Okay, so when we see such a thing, what we're doing is telling him to use the text that is inside here. If I change this to something like, I don't know, hi to all UCDC students, what I'm doing is changing the value that large text represents, and once I execute the app again, the text here will be lost. It will be changed by what I just wrote there. Okay? As you can see, hi to all UCGC students. Large text is, as I mentioned, a variable, the name of the variable, and the value is inside here. If I go to the content scrolling and I decide, okay, let's change it, instead of writing large text, I can write, if you put here string, it will show you all the strings of the application, okay? And I put app name, okay? It will change the app name. It will put here the app name, okay? And if I don't know what's the app name, I come here and say, okay, app name is my class app. You understand? So the idea is that you have, instead of writing the text here on the XML file, you just put a reference to the text in the file strings. There is a reason for all this, because later on when we create the different languages, we will put different files here with different languages, so the language, depending on the country and the person, will show it differently, the same text, okay? But I just wanted to show you how we link